Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellowshow. My name's Kyle. Tonight, it is Tuesday, December 7th, 7 p.m. Central Time. We're going to be going over the Week 14 Waiver Wire Report. Before I get into that, I'm going to let some more people get in there, fire up your questions if you have them in the chat room. But I kind of want to just read over some of the daily news and the player news that came out today. Headlines: Adam Thielen not practicing with an ankle injury. He's probably going to be out this game and maybe the next game. We'll see if we can get him back for week 16. Dalvin Cook listed as limited on Tuesday. Kind of a surprise there. I think that's more just a coach thing where they're just kind of throwing him in there, saying, hey, he might play, just to maybe make the other team think about it a little bit. Ben Roethlisberger returns to practice. Chase Claypool logs a full practice, so they're on track to play. David Njoku landed on the COVID-19 list. He couldn't miss week 14, so that's going to make me like Austin Hooper as a streaming tight end if you need one. Patrick Peterson activated off the C19 list. Kyle Shanahan hoping Deebo Samuel is back. And then Ryan Fitzpatrick undergoing a hips procedure. His 2021 season is over with. And then some of the other main headlines today: Sony Michel. Sean McVay saying it's really good to get a rhythm runner involved, but he stopped short of calling him the lead back and said Darrell Henderson is a big part of the offense. So I think as good as Michel played last week, he might have opened up the door for some kind of more of a 50-50 split between the two. We'll see how it evolves going forward. But with Henderson, we know he's been kind of an injury-prone back throughout his time in the league so far, and it just kind of makes sense to ride Sony Michel and let Henderson's quad heal up. And he's playing well. Might as well just keep giving him carries and limit the touches for Henderson right now, and hopefully they get a two-back system rolling here. Of course, Keenan Allen was put on the COVID-19 list. The reports are that he's vaccinated. He does have a chance to play this weekend. So if you're holding out hope for Keenan Allen, there is a good chance that he could play, but just make sure you have a backup plan just in case. Saints waived Kenny Stills, which is an interesting move, considering Deontay Harris got his 3-game suspension. There's the Adam Thielen news. Dalvin Cook limited. He's probably not playing Thursday night. I would plan to make sure to have a replacement in there or Alexander Mattison ready to roll. Hayden Hurst is back from the IR. There's the Ben and the Claypool news. Let's move over to some of the other interesting news. That was the David Njoku one. And again, I like Austin Hooper. If Harrison Bryant doesn't play either, that's just going to make me like Austin Hooper even more. He's worth a streamer. Justin Fields and the Bears. Matt Nagy saying the team is having an ongoing discussion about Justin Fields' rib injury and his week 14 status. It's kind of 50-50 up to this point right now. We don't know if we're going to see Andy Dalton or Justin Fields. If Justin Fields is hanging out there on your waiver wire and you need a QB1, perhaps you can snag him. I don't like the matchup against Green Bay at Green Bay Sunday Night Football. That just doesn't seem like a good spot to get the rookie QB in there. Again, we're waiting to see what's up with Deebo Samuel. They're hopeful he can play. The team looked fine on offense. They lost the game to the Seahawks, unfortunately, but with Ayuk, Kittle, and the running game, I don't know if there's a rush to get Deebo in there, so he's kind of 50-50 up to play. I'll list him as questionable for now. And then here we go with all these Buffalo Bills reports. What a game last night. It's just interesting how they could not stop that rushing attack. And then before we get into it, I did want to kind of just open up the practice reports from Minnesota and Pittsburgh. Minnesota's kind of dinged up here. Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle, not practicing Tuesday. Dalvin Cook got a limited in today. Again, I don't think he plays, but we'll see what happens here. And then the receiver, of course, Adam Thielen, he's not going to play. So we'll look at KJ Osborne on the waiver wire. Good evening to Justin. Before we get into the waiver wire, I just wanted to cover some of the player news and the practice reports from today. And of course, Tuesday, this is more just a concern for the Thursday Night Football game. The Vikings, we pretty much know no Cook, no Adam Thielen, so it's going to be a big night for Justin Jefferson, Madison, probably Tyler Conklin, and then KJ Osborne gets some shine in this one. On the Steelers side, it looks like Chase Claypool is going to be just fine here. That was really it. Ben Roethlisberger also practicing in full, so I'm not too concerned about this Steelers offense. Get your guys in there. And then, yeah, so on the Dalvin Cook news, let me see if I can find it real quick. He's not going to play. They on a short week too. Nonetheless, it does say he was a limited participant for Tuesday's practice. Adam Schefter previously reported that Cook is expected to miss week 14, but the latter's return to practice on Tuesday puts him back on the field as early as week 15. So I think this is more just conditioning and keeping him in the loop with the offense. I would be shocked if Dalvin Cook were to play, especially just on a short week. Let him have that extra 10 days of rest until they need him for week 15. So for me, I'm not planning on having Dalvin Cook in your lineups this week. Julio or Osborne, who should I get? Probably Julio. I think Julio has the better long-term value. I know he's been kind of touchy with his injury status throughout the year in the last few years, but I think Julio probably has the best chance to actually be something that matters for a fantasy team. Whereas KJ Osborne, sure, we kind of like him this week, but it wouldn't surprise me if he goes out and gets, 3 catches for 20 yards or something. I think I'd rather trust Julio in that situation. It seems like Julio's going to play. So if you're looking to start someone this week, I might actually say Osborne would maybe be the play. But for long-term value, I want Julio on my team. Do I pick up Taysom and start him over Kirk? So Taysom over Kirk. Taysom against the Jets, Kirk, short week against the Steelers, no Adam Thielen. I'm probably going to go with Taysom Hill in this one, just with his rushing upside. I think that's the safer play, and we know the Jets can't stop running backs, and Taysom Hill's kind of a running back playing quarterback, so I'm going to roll with Taysom Hill over Kirk this weekend. Will Adam play? Adam Thielen's not going to play. He's going to be questionable for week 15 at best, so this might be a 2 to 3 week injury. I would cross him off the list for week 14, though. You got to have a backup just in case. When is the big three coming back from Green Bay? When is the big three? That's all kind of up in the air. I don't think any of them are coming back this week. If anything, we might see them start to practice tomorrow. I'd be surprised if they saw David Bakhtiari play or Jair or Zadarius, but I think the plan is to get these guys in practice at some point this week or next week and go from there. So I think probably not this week. I think that Ravens game, and that's the following week. They play the Bears on Sunday Night Football. So I think that Ravens game, we might see 1 or 2 of the big three back, and that's Jair, Bakhtiari, and Zadarius Smith. Justin Jefferson is going to have himself a night. But for the waiver wire report, let's get into it a little bit. I can go over some of the injuries if you guys have questions to some of these players. Otherwise, just check out the link in the description. But let's take a look at some of the quarterbacks. Of course, Indianapolis, Miami, New England, and Philly all on bye. So Carson Wentz, Tua, Mac Jones, and Jalen Hurts, all quarterbacks. All some pretty big offenses right here the last week of the fantasy regular season that we have to be without. So if you're in need of a quarterback this week, I think some of my favorites probably include Taysom Hill. It's a really good game against the Jets. I know he's not a super exciting passer of the football, especially with that middle finger tendon thing going on. But I just think his rushing upside, the potential for Alvin Kamara to be in this one, I like Taysom Hill quite a bit. I also like Ryan Tannehill if Julio Jones is cleared to play. And again, they're coming off a bye week. They should be a much better, well-rested team. We expect them to take it to Jacksonville. Cam Newton, I know he left a sour taste in our mouth from that last game, but I think coming off a bye, Carolina, I just want to pull up the NFC standings. I just think Carolina, Cam Newton, it's put up or shut up week this week. If they can somehow, it's a beatable Atlanta Falcons team at home. So you would think that Carolina has their sights set on this one. This is a must-win game for them. And then, as you can see, they're locked up with Atlanta. They go to 6-7. They're right on the fringe of this wild card race. So this is a big game for Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. So I'm interested there. I do like Taylor Heineke, and then low ends, Teddy Bridgewater and Ben Roethlisberger. So if you guys have QB questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll move on to some running back stuff. Elijah Moore or KJ Osborne. So I like KJ Osborne, but I think you got to ride Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore has proven it, whether it is Zach Wilson, whether it's been Joe Flacco, whether it's been Mike White. Elijah Moore has been a really good fantasy football player this year. So he's the guy I want on my team. And again, it's the Saints. If you look at the fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver position, the Saints here are allowing the 5th most points to the wide receivers here. So it's a good matchup for Elijah. So I'm going to stick with him. And yeah, Waller, they changed the tune on Darren Waller. He is now more day-to-day than week-to-week. So tomorrow is going to be a big day. If he gets unlimited in, he's on track to play, and we'll see from there. But otherwise, they're saying the right things about Darren Waller. Good chance that he plays. And yes, I think AK plays. We'll know more tomorrow with that Wednesday practice report, but I expect him to be limited, and I expect him to finally suit up. And again, this NFC playoff race, man, you got a bunch of teams here at 5-7. All of them are dinged up with injuries right now, and it's kind of that last week where you get to 8 losses, and I don't know, how much confidence you're going to have going forward. So these teams can really only afford one more loss. I would expect the Saints to give it their best, and it's a winnable game against the Jets. So I think you're going to want your best players on the floor. Gallup, Javonte, J-Rob, AJ Dillon need 2. Gallup, Javonte, J-Rob, AJ Dillon. So from what I heard, they're going to be cautious with Melvin Gordon. So I think it's going to be easy. You're starting Javonte Williams. Even if we see that Melvin Gordon plays, I think it's clear Javonte looked freaking good. Like Javonte, he stole the show. I'm of any of the names on this list, I like Javonte Williams the most. J-Rob, I'm not sure. I'm kind of losing trust in James Robinson. He's fumbled in, I think, back-to-back games. He's been benched throughout those 2 games. And I don't know if I want to rely, especially if you need a win in fantasy football this week. Are you going to put your money on a Jaguar, or would you rather trust AJ Dillon, who's looked great? And we know Aaron Jones is back, but here's the picture. Sunday Night Football, Chicago Bears going to Green Bay. I don't think this one's going to be close. I would expect AJ Dillon to rack up enough touches to at least be 8 to 10 PPR points. He's been a useful receiver. So I'm going to say start Javonte, and then it's really close between Dillon and Gallup. I think if you're feeling a little risky and you need that upside, you need that big touchdown play, Gallup is the guy for that. But if you want to lock in a safe floor of 8 to 10 PPR points, I'm going to go with AJ Dillon. And yeah, Tua has been. I've been on the Tua bandwagon even all summer. I liked him as a fringe top 12, top 15 QB, and to imagine that he's been doing it with not a lot of help from his receivers. He's had Jalen Waddle, of course, but you look at Will Fuller, look at Devontae Parker. These guys have just not been on the field consistently, and he's been making it work with just Jalen Waddle, Gaskin, and Mike Gesicki. So I'm very excited and happy to see what Tua's been doing, and he's on a 5-game win streak right now. So Elijah Mitchell. Tomorrow's going to be a big day for Elijah Mitchell. Let me pull up the news here. I don't know if there's anything recent on him. Let me zoom out a little bit here. So he's in that concussion protocol. If he gets a limited in tomorrow, you're feeling really good about this. There's also some injuries to Jeff Wilson, and I think Hasty's kind of banged up too. So we'll have to wait and see. It's too early for me to call it. We've seen players come in, like Pat Fryermuth last week. He was able to clear concussion protocol by Wednesday. So we'll know tomorrow. If he's DNP tomorrow, I'll be a little bit nervous, but let's give it one more day here. And yeah, it's gonna be a fun race. I'm excited for Wild Card Weekend this year. I think it's gonna be pretty rowdy. Would you be worried about Austin Ekeler? What are we worried about with Austin Ekeler? I know he had the fumbles. Is that the concern? He's dealing with bumps and bruises. At this point in the season, everybody's dealing with bumps and bruises. So I wouldn't be if he does not practice tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just kind of a day's rest. The Chargers, man. They're going to get the Giants this week. That should be a win. But again, this playoff race, as they're the 5th seed currently, you're probably going to start to see teams rest players on Wednesdays a little bit more often now as they're trying to get ready for the playoffs. 30 Dylan and I start both. That's not a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. In a game where, one, we expect the Packers to win, I think you're going to be just fine starting both running backs. You have a good chance at 2 touchdowns between the two. And the Charger receiver you're going to want there is Jalen Guyton, not Josh Palmer. Jalen Guyton's been the clear number 3 receiver all season. He's a deep threat. I do like Josh Palmer. He's going to get some more run, but the guy you're looking for is Jalen Guyton. And then the Mixon handcuff. If Mixon misses practice tomorrow, I'll raise my eyebrow. But it's going to be Samaje Perine, the next man up there, if you want to do that. We're going to go with Marquise Brown here. Let me look at the Cleveland Browns. So the Browns have been decent against the wide receiver, but they have allowed 11 touchdowns in 12 games. As Odell Beckham going up against the Cardinals, a little bit stiffer here. I trust Marquise because he's the clear number 1 in that offense, whereas Odell Beckham kind of the 2nd, 3rd receiving guy. Just 1 second, please. Alrighty, what else we got? And yeah, I'm gonna stick with Marquise Brown. He's been getting the targets. He's due for a big play, and I just don't want to miss that. Whereas Odell Beckham, he has been playing well with Matt Stafford. I don't know if I trust the volume there quite yet. Stafford or Taysom Hill this week. Um, hmm. So looking at the Arizona Cardinals are pretty good against the quarterback, but they have allowed 16 touchdowns. They've also picked the ball off 12 times. So a big game, Rams at the Cardinals. I probably want to lean with going with Stafford in this one. Taysom Hill, especially if Alvin Kamara's back, like there could just be a lot of running involved in there. I like Taysom Hill's floor, but for me, I'm probably going to continue to stick with Stafford, especially in a big game where I mean the winner of that, could be the front runner to win the NFC West here. So the Rams are 2 games back. That would be a huge victory for them to get back on track here. So I think I'm going to go with the Rams. Stafford. Trailblazers guard CJ McCollum has a. Oh man. Oh man. I hope he's okay. Yeah, the Trailblazers are in trouble. It looks like. Rest up CJ. Drop one, Noah Fant or Stevenson. I think you're probably going to want to drop Noah Fant, my man. Stevenson, one, he looked good last night, and Damian Harris has a hamstring thing. They played Monday night, so they're already going to be on a short week the way it is. There's a legit chance. They have a bye this week, I know that. But who knows? We might see a more Ramondre Stevenson friendly offense coming out of the bye. So I think Noah Fant. The only Denver Bronco I want on my team right now is Javonte Williams. So I think we can kind of just get rid of the passing game. I'm going to, especially if you already have a tight end that you trust. Noah Fant's not doing you much good. It's the Packers. I would approve of that action. The Cardinals are interesting because their schedule. Let's look at their Cardinals schedule down the stretch. Let's see here. So they're going to get the Rams. They're going to get the Lions. They're going to get the Colts, the Cowboys, and Seattle. So the Rams, that's a tough matchup. The Colts are going to give them a tough matchup, and the Cowboys are going to give them a tough matchup. So for me, as a Packer fan, I expect the Packers to lose maybe one more game the rest of the season. So we're going to need the Cardinals to lose at least 2, whether it's the Rams, the Colts, or the Cowboys. If not, at least lose one. And we'll kind of go from there. So that would be welcome news for me. What will Connor role be with Chase Edmonds coming back? Very good question. Let's go look at these 2. So James Conner. So I'm trying to remember when that injury happened. So here's the deal. Connor was still getting double-digit carries even before the Edmonds injury. Let me actually pull up my guy here, Chase Edmonds. So I really don't think it's gonna be that different. If anything, some of the passing stats are gonna go down for Connor. But let's look here. So Edmonds got hurt week 9. So Connor, before week 9, what did we see here? So I'm not going to count this week 9 because that was the game that Edmonds got hurt in. So if you look before here, you see James Conner, 2 rushing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown against you. Like he was still getting the rushing touchdowns, but this receiving column is probably going to dip down a little bit. You're going to probably go back to more of this 1-2-1-1. So I would expect him to still get targets. Maybe 1 or 2 targets per game. You're not going to see these 5 reception games anymore. So I still really like James Conner, but for the most part, you're hoping that he's still got a really good chance at scoring a touchdown every week. But his receiving column is going to come down, and you're probably going to come back to more of this something like this stat line: 11 for 43 and a chance of a touchdown and one or two catches. So he's still a good play, but now he's just more of a running back too. What is Henderson's status with him being active last week, or is he still hurt? So he's got a quad injury. They really haven't given us too much information on this. It sounds like, just the way McVay was talking today, it sounds like they're okay with giving him time because Sony Michel's playing so well. So coming into week 14, I honestly can't recommend starting Darrell Henderson until we see something. I would hate for you to start Darrell Henderson and he only gets 5 carries or something like that right now. I think the player to trust is Sony Michel at this moment, and we'll see we'll see. I need to see proof before I trust Darrell Henderson. And who knows? It might be kind of a 50-50 committee at this point. The rest of the way, we'll have to see. But I'm struggling at the idea of starting Darrell Henderson just in case we get left in the wind. Do I like Ronald Jones rest of season? Okay, so that's a good question. I think at this point of the season, you have to really assess your bench, especially the last like 2-3 spots of your bench. If you don't have a plan for that player and you don't see yourself starting them at any point, it's time to start adding backup running backs. And Ronald Jones, he's a guy here who week to week he does not have much upside, of course. But if Leonard Fournette gets hurt, you're looking at a guy here who could be getting tons of volume, whether it's 15 to 20 touches per game. So I do like Ronald Jones quite a bit, but you have to just leave him at the end of your bench and see what happens and let him grow if Fournette goes down. I'll say yes. Start Sony over AJ Dillon. If we get word that Darrell Henderson's he's just going to be active and they're not going to use him, but we'll need more info on that. But I mean, at the moment right now, AJ Dillon, man, there's something about AJ Dillon, Lambeau Field, December night. It just feels good about AJ Dillon. Where do you think Gallup goes next season? This is a great question. So if you've watched my stuff, you guys know I have a soft spot for Michael Gallup. He's the best boundary wide receiver, I think, in the NFL. Of course, you have guys like Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs, who they're just like technicians with their footwork and whatnot, right? But Michael Gallup, the work that he does along the out of bounds and just the tight roping stuff that he does, going deep, he's one of the best catchers on the sideline. And the Chiefs would be amazing. Like, I know the Chiefs need a number 2 wide receiver right now. Mecole Hardman has not paid off. They have Byron Pringle. They're missing that Sammy Watkins factor. So Gallup to the Chiefs makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't mind seeing him in Green Bay. I don't think he's ever going to be like a true number 1 wide receiver. He needs to be paired like with another good player here. So I like Gallup, but he needs to go somewhere where he at least has a wingman with him to help him. And I think the Chiefs would just be disgusting. But we'll see. I wouldn't mind Green Bay, though. It really depends on what's going on, though, with Rodgers and Devontae. I'm going to have to drop A-Rob and Julio. Kind of sad. I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter what round we took these guys in. That kind of all went out the window. And Allen Robinson, I don't see any value for us to hold on to him right now. There's better guys with more up. I'd rather hold on to a handcuff running back than Allen Robinson. So, yeah. So Aaron Jones going to get the workload on Monday Night Football. I do think Aaron Jones is probably going to be back into that 15 to 20 touch range. He had a bad game last week before the bye week against the Rams, but he still got, I think it was 10, 11 carries. So if we expect Aaron Jones to be fully healed after that bye week, things are going to be looking good. I would expect him to be back into this, 15 carry range. And hopefully, 3-4 catches with a good chance at a touchdown. So I'm feeling good for 15 to 20 touches and a pretty good chance at a touchdown. And I think he's going to be feeling good because he just got nominated for the Walter Payton Man of the Year. He was the Packers representative. So I have a good feeling about Aaron Jones this weekend. Gallup, yep, the entire Cowboys passing offense, Amari, Gallup, and CD, you're trying to get those guys in your lineups for sure. Rank these rest of season: Elijah Moore, Kendrick Bourne, or Julio Jones. The guy that I can trust every week right now is Elijah Moore. And he's proving it even with Zach Wilson that he can support a decent floor. Last week, 6 for 77 and a touchdown. The week before, 446 and a 7-yard carry. So like that 9.3, I'm comfortable with that being a bad game from Elijah Moore. Whereas the bad games for Kendrick Bourne there's basically zeros. And Julio Jones is actually a guy who I'm excited about, but it's this trust factor. So I'm going to rank them as Elijah, Julio, and Kendrick Bourne. Just because anytime I'm starting Kendrick Bourne, I'm going to be super nervous to do so. And I just think Elijah, he's the safest and the steadiest right now. He's also peaking as a rookie. Elijah Moore is going to be a really fun wide receiver in the future, guys. So I'll rank them Elijah, Julio, Kendrick. Are there any chance Gallup stays with Dallas? There is. And I think there is a really good chance. It really depends on the money. And if I don't take Michael Gallup as a money guy, but I can guarantee there's going to be teams wanting to throw money at him. I can think so in a team that actually makes a lot of sense and a team that spent a lot of money foolishly this offseason, the Miami Dolphins. Just imagine Tua with a guy like Michael Gallup. That could be a lot of fun. Tua's got a good arm, and they could really use a strong outside wide receiver to complement one Jalen Waddle. So I think Gallup is likely to stay, but if he had to move on, I think he's probably going to get a pretty good market for his money. Yep. Probably. And so this has been kind of my problem with Jamar. I like Jamar Chase, but they are not exactly using him to the best of his ability. It's everything's going to T. Higgins right now. Whereas early in the start of the season, Jamar Chase was just getting open deep left and right. He was seeing double-digit targets almost every other game here. And then the last couple of weeks, he at least he hit 52 yards. But his floor of 10, 13, and 13, I suppose it's fine. If you do play in PPR, I'm totally cool continuing to leave him out there because he's got good chances at touchdowns. But this schedule the rest of the way, San Fran, Denver, Baltimore, Kansas City, kind of tougher defenses. But I think at the moment right now, you're not going to find another receiver on your team that can get this 34, this 27, this 22, this 20. So I think if he got you here, you're going to continue to use him, and hopefully things get a little bit better soon. Edmonds or Gordon? Edmonds. What's going on, Christian? So we're not guaranteed to get Melvin Gordon back. So there is one of the best podcasts that I listen to for news. It's Football Guys. I don't know if you guys know them, footballguys.com. And they have a guy named Cecil Lammey who he's a radio personality for the Denver Broncos. So he's in the team. He knows what's going on. And he kind of just said, like, they're going to be cautious with Melvin Gordon. They're not going to rush him back. So there's a chance that Melvin doesn't even play this week. And even if he does play, I want to start Javonte Williams. The cat kind of came out of the bag. He looks so dang good. And I think the Broncos know they have a good player here. So I'd expect going forward, you're going to see more Javonte Williams than Melvin Gordon, even if Gordon's on the field. So congrats. You have a really good player in Javonte Williams if you were able to draft him and hold on to him and kind of get through the whole 50-50 split. But his schedule the rest of the way, guys, Detroit, Cincinnati, Las Vegas, and the Chargers. If I show you some of the worst teams against the run, we said Cincinnati, the Chargers, Las Vegas, and Detroit. They got 4 of the top 8 teams allowing PPR points to running backs. They got 4 of the top 8 on their schedule. So Javonte Williams, I think he's ready to win some championships for you guys. And not great. Top 3 rookie wide receiver this year. Are we talking Elijah? I think so. I mean, Waddle and Jamar Chase have been money, but I think Elijah Moore, when it's all said and done in their careers, I think Elijah Moore is going to be right up there. We just need, promise from Zach Wilson. I don't get it, man. It's so weird. I love Tua. May have a bad game again. So the matchup this week against San Francisco, it's a fair matchup here. They rank 14th against the wide receivers. They've allowed 11 touchdowns in 12 games, but they're allowing a lot of receptions and yards. So I'm going to continue to stick with Jamar Chase, and I think the emergence of T. Higgins might actually open things up for Jamar Chase now, as teams are going to have to focus on T. T's been just slobbing with the targets. It's not going to surprise me if that rolls over to Jamar Chase. So stay patient with Chase. I think he's going to bust open soon. Whew, these running backs are sick. Madison, Javonte, Gibson, Zeke, Mitchell, Najee. Oh my goodness. This is disgusting. We need 3 of these guys. Okay. So I think you got to just go ahead and start Alexander Madison on Thursday Night Football. You got to leave him in there, just lock him in there. The Steelers really aren't that great against the running back. They rank 11th here, so I think even if Madison doesn't score, he's got a safe floor for you where he's going to get the volume. So I'm feeling good about Madison, and then after that, we're going to have to reevaluate. Najee Harris, you probably want to get Najee in your lineup too. The Vikings are right here, so we're going to burn 2 of our 3 spots with Madison and Najee Harris. And then after that, Zeke's got a tough matchup. Mitchell, we don't know if he's going to play, so it comes down to Javonte or Gibson. We can make that decision later, but I think for now you probably have to go with Madison and Najee, and then we'll let the week unfold and make that Javonte Gibson decision later. No problem. You're welcome. Javonte is going to be sick. I'm excited about the finish here. Javonte, Zeke, Barkley, Madison, Javonte need 2. Again, I'm going to go with Madison here. I'm going to lock him in there, and I'm probably going to go with Javonte Williams. Saquon Barkley, he's got a good matchup on paper here, but I don't want anything to do with Jake Fromm. And then Zeke, I mean, the football team, they got they let some points up of late here. They are a good team, though. So I don't trust the Zeke matchup here. I'm thinking it's Madison and Javonte right now. Taysom versus the Jets or Brady versus the Bills. It feels wrong to sit Tom Brady, but the Buffalo Bills, especially with the game from last night, they got a boost here, but they're the best team against the quarterback here. They've only allowed 8 passing touchdowns all season. So Tom Brady, sure, he could come in and just whip out 3 or 4, but it's going to be a tough matchup. I think you take the safe points with Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill against the Jets, the New York Jets here, allowing 18.38 points per game. I think you just take the safe points with Taysom Hill here. Man, you did some good work, and you mentioned Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs against the Chiefs, I don't love it. I think I'm still going to go Javonte and Madison as of today. So for your questions, Justin, lock Madison in there and then lock Najee in that other one. I think you're going to have fun with those 2, and then we'll make our decision later. And then Harris is saying Kareem Hunt or David Montgomery. Interesting. So Kareem Hunt, he was back last week before the bye. He didn't play great. This week he gets the Baltimore Ravens. And Baltimore, where are they? I can't find them. Why can't I find Baltimore? Am I just stupid here? I can't find the Baltimore Ravens against running back. Here we are. So Baltimore is one of the better teams against the running back in PPR, so I'm not as excited to get Kareem Hunt in there. And again, that the game from 2 weeks ago, they did play each other, and it wasn't a great game. So I'm thinking you take Montgomery and you take the amount of just the volume total that he's going to get touching the ball. I think you're going to go with Montgomery. Saints spread is -6. It feels like that's kind of right. The Saints offense, like Taysom Hill's not going to put up a ton of points. They're going to kind of grind it out and go from there. But I do like the Saints to probably cover that. I think Finns and Minnesota game into playoffs. Minnesota and the Finns. I think the Vikings can do it. Dolphins, I don't know. Like I have to look at the Dolphins schedule real quick because the Chargers, the Bengals, and the Bills, these are all really good teams that deserve it. I don't know if I see these guys dropping off. I still like the Steelers and the Colts. Thursday night is a huge deal. Steelers and Vikings both need to win. We'll see how it goes. I actually think the Steelers are going to steal that game. So Minnesota here at the 9 seed, if they lose on Thursday night, it's not looking good for them. There's a couple teams here playing better football right now. And then the winner of that Panthers-Falcons game is going to vault over if the Vikings lose. So I think Minnesota is a little bit tougher situation, whereas the Dolphins, I'm open to it. It's just they got to climb a little bit yet. Kareem Hunt or Brandon Cooks non-PPR. So Brandon Cooks, the Houston Texans going up against who do they get this week? The Texans getting the Seattle Seahawks. I'm fine with Brandon Cooks, I think. Kareem Hunt probably has a better chance of scoring a touchdown. So if you want to go with that info, I'll probably go with Kareem Hunt. But I think Brandon Cooks is probably a safer play. I know Davis Mills pummels him with targets. So I think you have that to rely on. But I think probably the better play is Kareem Hunt. Finns have an easy schedule. With J.D. McKissic coming back from injury, do you think that would affect Gibson's production? It's going to affect his receiving game volume. It's not going to affect his rushing volume. But I think what we're learning right now is they want to give Antonio Gibson the ball. And I'm a big Antonio Gibson fan. And we've seen the last two games, 7 receptions and 5 receptions. But I will say this, before J.D. McKissic got hurt against Seattle, Gibson already had, I think, 6 or 7 catches in that game. So there is a more concerted effort to get him the ball as a receiver. So I think either way, you're probably expecting 2 to 3 receptions with a healthy McKissic back, and I think I'm fine with that. But this 5 and 7 reception total has been nice. And at this point right now, I want him to get on a touchdown streak. You get Dallas, Philly to end the season. And if we look at fantasy points allowed to the running back, Philadelphia right here coming in at number 10. They give up the 10th most PPR points to the RB. Dallas is a little bit tougher. They're down here at about 19.92, but they really, I mean, they've been, it's fine. They need to give up more touchdowns, which maybe Gibson can kind of help that column. So I'm fine with Gibson going forward. I still rank him as like a fringe top 12 running back. The only thing I like about Pittsburgh right now is their offense is healthy. The Vikings being down Thielen and Dalvin Cook, I think, limits them. Coming off a loss to the Lions, I don't know where the state of that team is right now, but Pittsburgh, they just got a huge win against the Ravens. Ben Roethlisberger's looking good, and with the whole this might be my last year thing, I think the Steelers might have the mojo there. And yeah, I've been seeing those winds blowing. D. Johnson, I think, is a good game. Deontay's always going to have a good game, man. I think you just got to hope he stays under 20 points at this point. Deontay Johnson is a Deontay was one of those guys that made my list of players to draft this year. Unfortunately, I didn't get him in any of my drafts, but the dude's a 7th overall receiver right now, and that's with missing a game. Deontay is a stud. So I think at this point, his PPR average is 18.8. If you can get him under 20, I think that's a win at this point. Anything under 15 would be a big win. Who's your top 3 waiver wire ads? Of course, it all depends on what you need. So for me, the way that I play the waiver wire is I don't ever really need a player to plug in for that week. I'm always trying to stay a week ahead. But the one thing that I do like to play week to week is defense. So if you're plugging in defenses this week, the Saints against the Jets, the Broncos against the Lions. I do like the Packers at home against Chicago. I like Tennessee versus Jacksonville. The Chiefs are probably a defense that we need to hold on to. But the team that no one's really considering is the Chargers against the Giants. So that would be an easy one. So if you need a defense, let me know if you guys have questions on that. If you need a tight end, the guy I like this week is Tyler Conklin against Pittsburgh. And then maybe Austin Hooper. That's actually 28%. But Hooper's in for a good matchup here. And then wide receiver. It's Marquise Valdes-Scantling, guys. I'm in love with MVS. Let me just show you the numbers real quick here. So MVS is, everyone kind of knows that he's this boom bust wide receiver for the Packers. But since he came back, so week 9, week 10, he came back. That was the Jordan Love game. Then he kind of got his feet underneath him here. But weeks 11 and 12 before the bye, you see 10 targets, 4 for 123 and a touchdown. Week 9 against the Rams, 9 targets, 4 for 50 for 9 PPR points. So I think the rest of the season, MVS is he's kind of like a Michael Gallup type play for me. He's the second receiver in this Packers offense. Aaron Rodgers trusts him, and that deep ball, I think it's going to kind of get honed in over the rest of the season. So I'm a huge MVS fan. I think just his trust with Aaron Rodgers is what's key. And again, 19 targets over the last 2 games. And there's potential for Randall Cobb to not play on Sunday. MVS, he's the second guy in snaps as the receivers go. So I like MVS quite a bit. And he's a guy, if you need a huge, crazy point week this week to get into the playoffs, that's probably where I would go. And I think he has a history against Chicago here last year, week 17, 2 for 87 and a score. I think he sat out at the other Chicago game that season. I can't recall. 2019 against Chicago, 4 for 52. Didn't play much in that game, but I like MVS. He's a player that I probably want to have for the rest of the season. And then Devontae Parker. He's not going to play this week because of the bye week, but I think Devontae Parker is a guy worth holding on to. We talked about Tua and the Dolphins and having a nice schedule the rest of the way. So I like Parker as a long-term hold, and then Julio Jones as a long-term hold. And then for running backs, again, it's handcuff season. You want to be scooping up these guys. I really like Dontrell Hilliard and Deonta Foreman. These are probably the two best backs to own in Tennessee. Ramondre Stevenson, again, with the hamstring for Damian Harris. Of course, I love Sony Michel, but he probably got scooped up in a lot of leagues last week. And then, I mean, down here, like Samaje Perine, like, get some of these handcuffs here. With my wideouts out of Hill, Jefferson, Waddle, Smith, and Gallup, I don't need another wide receiver. No, probably not. Probably not. Unless you want to block someone from getting him, but yeah, I mean, you're good on wide receiver, my man. Can you give me your top two waiver wire handcuffs? Okay. Waiver wire handcuffs. I'm assuming these top few guys are rostered here. I do think Michael Carter, if Michael Carter was dropped, he's a guy that you want to pick up. I'm not excited to have Chuba Hubbard on my team. I actually think Amir Abdullah is probably going to be the PPR guy on the team here that gets the most work as a pass catcher. But as far as handcuffs, like Samaje Perine, like we saw Joe Mixon get nicked up last week. Joe Mixon's a guy that's been often injured throughout his career, and the man's had a couple 30 plus touches the last few games. So I think Samaje Perine, again, just because it's like he is the clear backup, he's going to get the majority of the touches there, and he's a dependable veteran running back. So I think Samaje Perine is one of the best guys to roster. And then Jordan Howard, the Eagles. Miles Sanders hurt his ankle. They're on bye this week. Who knows what's going to happen here? But as this team looks to make a postseason run, Jordan Howard looked good before the injury. He could be a guy that has some value the rest of the season. Coaching staff seems to trust him. And then maybe outside of that, like it gets really bleak. I still think Darrell Williams needs to be rostered. But as far as like league-winning backs, like Samaje Perine if Mixon goes down, I'm not excited about Carlos Hyde if James Robinson gets hurt further. But Jordan Howard, we know he's looked good. Jeff Wilson could be the guy, but he's dinged up right now too. So it's kind of getting slim out there. I can pick up Amir, Hasty, Perine, one of them. I would still stick with Samaje or Jordan Howard at this point. But the more room you can make for these running backs, the better. I like to be fluid with the last few spots on my bench, and that's probably where I'll stick with it. But even Tevin Coleman, it's a tough matchup against the Saints this week, but Tevin Coleman's looking good. For a waiver wire receiver, do you like MBS or Russell Gage? If you're looking for a guy to start this week, I'm probably going to go with MVS. And a guy to probably start like the rest of the season, it's probably MVS. I think he's got more upside for you. I trust Aaron Rodgers in that Packers offense to put up more points than the Falcons. So I'm probably going to say MVS. I'm totally a Packer homer here, but it's hard for me to ignore these numbers. 10 targets, 9 targets. Even if he gets 4 catches, he's got a chance of racking up, a touchdown. And I think he's in good position here to finish the 2021 season strong. But that's going to do it for tonight's show. I got to get out of here. I think tomorrow night I'll probably hop in live and answer some questions and just kind of go over some of the Wednesday practice report news. But I just want to say thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Good luck with your waiver wires. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, you can comment this YouTube video if you have questions, or find me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, whatever platform you need. So again, thank you so much. Have a good night. We'll see you later. Peace.